Hello. Today I would like to do a really quick review of simple present and present progressive negatives and questions. I'm going to assume that you already have a pretty good idea of when to use the simple present or the present progressive, although I will do one quick review of those rules. So we use the simple present to talk about a fact, a habit, or the truth, and we use the present progressive to talk about an action that is occurring now, like at the time of speaking, a temporary action, like I am studying phys ed this semester, or a planned near future action, like they are working tonight. So those are the reasons why I use those two different verb tenses. The most exceptional verb that you have to remember is the verb to be. When you'll hear me talk about auxiliaries, and I'm sure you've heard that word before, so remember that be is its own auxiliary. To make it negative, I just add not. And to make a question, I put the be in front of the subject. So, for example, I am would become I am not, or I'm not. And the question is, are you? Of course, you could say am I, but that doesn't always make logical sense. He is or he isn't, to make it negative, and is he, or they are, they aren't, are they. So here again you see that I've put my verb in front of the subject. For all other verbs in the simple present, to make them negative, you need an auxiliary, which is like a helper verb. And the helper verb in English is do or does plus not. Well, it's the verb to do plus not, but you have to conjugate it. So I work becomes I don't work. You study, you don't study, but she listens. Remember, you have your S, third person singular, on the simple present verbs. In this case, you want to put the S on your auxiliary. She doesn't listen. Is it correct to say she doesn't listens? Well, no, it isn't, because I can't have an S here and an S here. Can I say she don't listens? Absolutely not. To make a simple present question, again, you need, when it's not the verb to be, you need an auxiliary, which is do or does. This is for most direct questions. There are occasions where you don't really need an auxiliary, but we'll talk about those later. So it's important to remember to put the auxiliary before the subject and do not conjugate the verb. So he studies Japanese becomes what does he study? So I take the S from here, it goes down to my auxiliary, and my verb comes back to the base form. So I have an appointment at 3 o'clock. When do you have your appointment? So I just take my auxiliary here and I put it in front of my subject. So can I say when you have your appointment? Think about it. No. The question is, when do you have your appointment? Can I say, where does it hurts? Think about it. No, I have to say, where does it hurt? Remember, the S is here on my auxiliary and not on my verb. Can I say, why does she is sad? Think about it. No, I can only say, why is she sad? Because is the verb to be. It does not need another auxiliary. I cannot put the do and the be together in the same question or same negative. Basic question words, I know that you know them, but we'll just do a quick review. Who, for who does Mark live with? So it's a person. What does he do? So it can be a thing or an activity. When does he work? You see again, the S is here and not on my verb. Where does he study? Why does he sleep so much? How much coffee do you drink? When you ask a question with how much or how many, it is important to remember to include the noun that follows. So how much coffee? I use how much when something is that I cannot count. So how much time, how much money, how much coffee, how much oxygen, etc. And I use how many when I have something that I can count. How many times a day, how many students, how many patients, how many trees, etc. So something that I can easily count. And how often talks about the number of times. How often do you go to the gym? Of course, there are many other question words, but these are just some that you might come across on a regular basis. Okay, now moving on to the present progressive. To make it negative, you add not after the verb. So I am feeling well today is my affirmative. I am not. So I add the adverb not. I'm not feeling well today. They are installing an IV drip. They aren't installing it now. So affirmative, negative. To make a question using the present progressive, we put the form of the verb to be before the subject. So I'm doing my homework. Are you doing your homework? So I just transform. I move my verb in front of the subject pronoun. Or the subject. It doesn't always have to be a pronoun. He's feeling better today. Is he feeling better today? Can I say, do he is feeling better today? No. So remember this trick. I'm sure you have seen it before. The quasvo trick, question word, auxiliary, subject, verb, and O means object, but really it just means the rest of the sentence. And I know that you know this question, where do you live? If you can remember how to ask this question, then you should be able to remember to ask any question. So where do you live? When does she start her internship? Whoops, I forgot my question mark. But remember, does, my auxiliary is here with an S, and not, there's no S on my verb. In my affirmative sentence, I would say she starts with an S. She starts her internship next week. And in the present progressive, why is he crying? So here is my auxiliary, subject, and verb. So we're going to do a practice activity. Imagine that you are a health professional and that you have a new patient with you whom you are interviewing for the first time. I want you to think of 8 questions that you can ask him or her. Write them down and then ask your partner those questions. So that's it. Thank you very much for listening, and I will talk to you later. Ciao.